That was the best skip I've ever made, man. Holy crap. That one like skit. That was like a soft bait.
Got a very special guest with me today. This is my buddy Geoff, aka Jeffrey the King, aka Crazy Bass Fisher. He's in from Arizona. He's a big bait fisherman, probably one of the most dedicated swim bait fishermen that I've ever met, and had an insane couple days fishing with him. And one of the reasons we're making this video today is because the first day we came out here, which was Thursday, I was watching him fish a glide around docks. And I've never seen anyone pick apart a dock with a glide the way that he does. So I'm gonna let him take this video, show you guys what he does, at least share some of the secrets, right? Can't share them all, because he's the king.
You can have all the secrets. We can show some, but we'll leave a couple.
Okay, okay. Hopefully we'll be able to run into a couple fish. Probably not the best conditions, but I don't know. I feel like with the sun getting up, they'll be pushing into these docks, and that's where you caught them yesterday. So if you want to see the video from Thursday, I'll leave it linked down below. It's over on Geoff's channel. It was a sick day. Caught my first 250 fish, and you ended up with 4 on the glide.
Too many.
Pretty solid.
Way too many. I was getting tired, but you kept telling me, keep going. We ain't going home until you catch another one. And I was like, I'm so tired though, Matt. Like, I don't care.
I did.
We're gonna get a limit today.
It was an all-day grind. I was like, you gotta fish for 5. We need to get 5 in the boat.
I had no water left. He was like, no.
He was dehydrated.
No water for you. I need bass. And I was luckily enough we were able to go home that day because I caught a bass. We would have still been out here if I didn't.
And the last one was like 6 pounds.
The best one. Yeah.
Close to 6. But we're gonna get onto these docks. Jeff's about to rig up. What are you gonna throw? What are you gonna start with today?
A super secret lure that nobody knows about.
Even better.
Yeah, when you run a bait into a dock 1,000 times for no reason and you start breaking the hinges, the bait starts acting funny. You don't want that to happen. But it's inevitable. We're probably going to do it in this video too. So be prepared, because I'm really tired. I've made so many casts. But if I can get one bite, then I might get stoked. So this color, as you see it, is pretty bright. It's chartreuse and white. It's water. You guys will see it later. It's pretty dirty. And Matt has a lot of white baits on the deck, and he's done really well on just plain white. And time again, white is a really good color, just gets bit well. But what's nice is, like, when we come over here and fish these docks, it's really good to be able to watch what your bait's doing. And so you're able to watch when it goes in and out, in and out. If you're fishing more of like a darker color or a more natural color, or even like a translucent color, that's hard to see. You won't be able to see what your bait's doing, and then that's when you realize, like, oh, my bait's running 3 feet off of the dock, or my bait's gonna run into this piling and it's gonna snag, like, which obviously you don't want that. So having a bait that you can see on a dock is pretty crucial. Whether you're fishing clear water, obviously it doesn't really matter that much, but we're here in a super secret lake in West Virginia, and the water's dirty, so we're gonna fish with this white color that's really easy to see, and you guys will probably be able to see it as well. And maybe if we get really lucky and we sacrifice a lure to the fish gods, we can get a bite on camera. So I'm gonna tie this thing on, and then we'll fish some docks. This is not the proper way. You should not be filming this. I should be using a screwdriver, but like, I'm not using a Swiss Army knife. I can't screw the screw anymore. No pun intended. Crush 9. Mecha kucha kakui. Okay. First cast, we don't want to get a bite. That would suck. Alright, so we have a dock here. There's 2 angles that you have on a dock. You obviously have the face of it like this. So what I normally do is, when I'm coming at like an angle like this, I just try and get a cast down the dock. So you just get one down the face of the dock, and then you'll have another angle kind of to the the side of the dock. Once you pass by it, you just make a cast down it. Every once in a while, you can get like a cast like that under a dock. Got one. Missed him. I missed him. I missed him. I missed him. So yeah, I'm just trying to demonstrate, and the fish are cooperating, which is weird. Anyways, so where you might get a chance like that, where you can cast underneath something. You can't really skip a glide, but if you look, like there's like this boat, and it's maybe, I don't know, there's a 2-foot clearance, and if you're decent at getting like a cast underneath, you can get a cast under there and you can get a bite with a glide. Where most people look at that and like, oh, I can only like skip a lure in there, but if you like get a semi-decent cast in there without like my first beautiful cast, then you can get bites that most guys wouldn't really get. And you're also throwing a glide bait, you know, in a spot where they might only see like a soft bait. So you're showing them a bait that I think really gets fish to react better than like a soft bait, and you just get, I think, sometimes just better bites. And sometimes you do need to like get them to react. With the soft bait, it's obviously you just kind of reel it in and they just bite it. But when the water's a bit warmer and they want to really chase something down, obviously the glide bait's really good to go. That might be our only bite of the day. And so that's how I'd fish it, like a dock semi-thoroughly. I mean, we weren't able to hit the middle one because the jet skis were a little bit lower, but front side, back side, this side, and then got a bite underneath one of the docks. So you fished it pretty thoroughly, and then you move on to the next dock. But I see like a lot of guys, they won't fish it as thoroughly, and they're just gonna miss a lot of bites. And I really like to wait for the boat, or at least my positioning in the boat, to be pretty lined up. I don't want to be way back here making a cast to the back of that dock, because the bait's going to run this way. You want the bait to run as parallel as you possibly can along the dock. So like now I can make that cast. When I'm fishing the glide on these docks, we have like these wooden posts here. And I like to get the bait in and out of the post. I don't want it just to run outside of the post. I want the bait to kind of ride up under the dock. And what those fish are going to be doing, obviously, is they're going to be sitting underneath that dock. And if they're seeing a lot of people making casts on the outside of the docks, then over time they're going to like, that thing running way out there, that's a bait. They can never get a bait further in. So I've noticed like, the further back you can get your bait underneath that dock, the more likely you are to get those bites. I mean, if you're really skilled, you could probably get it to skip a little bit, but to get it to skip consistently isn't really a thing. What you'll end up doing is maybe getting the bait maybe halfway back. You won't be able to skip like a bait, like a soft bait where you can go all the way back. The glide, you can maybe get halfway on like a decent like underhand cast. But the great thing is if there's a fish in the back of the dock, the glide bait has enough drawing power to hopefully pull that fish all the way from the back to come chase your bait out. And one thing I really like doing is if you're drifting with a boat and you're getting out of like position with the dock, I like to just walk. If you have obviously room on any type of boat. I do this in a John boat that I personally have that's 14 foot. Obviously in this gigantic yacht that we're on today, you can obviously easily do it, but there's times when I'm like, I want to make that cast and I'll run all the way back to the back of the boat to stay in line with the dock. So like with this dock here, it's mostly all sun because of the angle of the sun. So you just try and figure out like what side of the dock is going to have shade on it or not. And we'll see like this kind of insight one is going to have a little bit of shade on it. Not a lot, but just a little bit. Now, don't be afraid to hit your bait into some of that stuff, whether it's a post or like a ladder. Like getting that bait to run as tight as you possibly can to the dock, I have found to be very, very good, and I have a lot of good success with it. So one thing I like to do on the docks is with a glide bait, I like to keep the bait as long in the strike zone as possible. So like if you're fishing pressured water and somebody makes a cast up on the dock, whatever, and there's just like, you know, working it pretty fast, like that bait's in and out. Like it doesn't stay in the strike zone very long. And it's very easy for the fish to like, one, maybe not even see it, or if they just know like, oh, it's moving too fast, we're not gonna eat that. So a lot of times I like to just get that bait around that piling and just glide it and then kind of just let it sit there. Like just for like a half second, just let it kind of hang and glide. And a lot of times that bite will come on that hang and then they hit it. Just keeping your bait in the strike zone longer seems to get a lot of bites for me. So I typically like using a bit shorter of a rod, just because some of these casts we're making is pretty tight quarter. So anything in that like 7, 6 to 8 foot's pretty good. There's multiple different styles of docks. I normally like to try and fish deeper docks. So deep is obviously relative to where you're fishing. So, you know, if we're on a body of water and docks can be anywhere from 4 feet down to like 14 feet, and I'm normally talking about like the ends of them, I always normally go with the deeper docks. I find that they just offer deeper water, and deeper water normally means safety, and big bass, they like feeling safety a lot. So I've always just kind of gone with that. Another thing that I'll be able to show you guys is this is a wood dock. I like wood docks the best if I can find them. Wood docks I feel like just have a more natural feel to them rather than like the plastic floating ones. So like on the cast, I'm always watching the bait and I'm always watching what it's doing. Making sure that I'm going in, out. If I can float over this piece of wood, that would be great. Thank you very much. But like back home when I have slightly bit cleaner water, it's pretty important to like watch to see if you have a follower or not. But luckily enough, for the most part, when you're fishing a dock like this, they'll just eat your lure if you present the bait right. If you don't present the bait right, so like if I want to make a cast on this pole and I think that there's a bass there, if I make a cast way out here, most likely that fish isn't going to travel that far. I mean, maybe if you're fishing a non-pressured body of water, but I found that time and time again, like, you gotta be tight with that stuff. So if you get it closer to them, the more likely they are to say yes to eating a lure. You could fish docks, clear water, dirty water, it kind of just doesn't really matter. Obviously, if you're fishing a clear water dock and you make a cast to like that post, a fish from that post way over there might see it, and that's why I like to fish the bait on the slow retrieve. But when I say slow, it's like a combination, honestly, where like maybe on this next dock I'll show you guys, but it's like you're fishing it kind of slow, but the bait is still giving hard inputs. So the bait's not like slowly kind of working through there's hard turns on that glide, but you're still fishing it slow. So most people think like, oh, it only gives off hard turns when you're fishing it fast. It's like, no, you fish it like just a hard glide, but you're slow with it too. That hard side-to-side action, that flashing action, is what is so great about a glide bait, because you're showing the fish the side profile, you're flashing a lot, there's a lot of movement, and that movement is what I think really gets those fish to commit. So I was telling Matt, I was saying that I normally don't fish docks early morning, just because I think the angle of the sun can throw the shadows in kind of weird spots where the sun almost kind of creeps underneath the dock. So if I'm gonna fish docks first thing in the morning, I try and find the docks that are like completely shaded over. Like the whole thing is super, super dark. For the most part, I fish docks midday, and I think most people do as well, but I find that when the sun is high, that normally means that there's no shade really anywhere else on the lake, unless it's something overhanging like a tree or maybe a rock. But when the sun is at its highest, I find really the only shade on the lake will be a dock that will have just concrete shade. And it just, I feel like it just sucks those fish to the docks. So normally I start fishing docks around like 11 to like 2 before it starts getting that kind of angled sun thing again. But 11 to 2 is what I found to be pretty good. But you know, I've obviously had days where it's like it'll go longer into the evening as well. And then this right here is like a dock that I'm used to fishing, where it's got kind of the plastic black pieces, which they're fine. The fish will hold on them if that's like the only thing they have. But I always found if I had to choose one, I always found that the older wood, rotten stuff, it just holds, I don't know, life on it. Like microplankton will feed on algae or whatever that's more attracted to the wood, which in turn means more bait around that, which means baits equals fish. So, and some of my favorite docks are the old decrepit ones that look like absolute shit. Like they were made in 1803 by George Washington himself. Like those are the docks where no maintenance has been done with it. There's overgrown stuff on it. It's very natural. There's no boat going in and out of it, so they don't have to constantly watch their noggins. Like stuff like that, I find those docks are pretty good. With certain glide baits, obviously there's a wide variety of different glide baits on the market now. My favorite ones are the ones that have like a pretty wide glide, so I can shoot it far up underneath the dock if I need to. Where there's a lot of glide baits where they don't glide very far, but they're very choppy. You can obviously fish those around docks, but I find that the ones that really shoot, so you can get really far up underneath the dock, I find that I just get more bites. So today we're obviously throwing like a DRT Clash 9, where it's got a nice wide glide to it. And one of my favorite things about this bait is what we call the yoko yoko, and that's Japanese for basically side to side, which means basically if I throw this thing out and I make like a semi-bad cast and I want it to go to the right more, I can kind of manipulate it to go more over to the right. So if I make a bad cast, or if I want to get it even further underneath the dock, I can do this yoko yoko thing and get a bait to go under. And that's not just with this bait. I find this bait does it the best, but you can do it with like a Depths 250 or a Hinkle trout, or really any glide. Some are better at it than others, but the little yoko yoko thing is really killer on docks. Okay, so not a bad fish. Ate it pretty good, but that one, I was able to make kind of a skip underneath the dock. Came out from the dock, and the fish ate it outside of the dock. So, kind of goes to show, like, you can get a glide bait in some of those super tight spots to catch maybe more fish like that. Nice fish. Get that guy out of here. Dude, this lake is washed. Alright, we're going home. That'll do it.
So Jeff and I got off the water after catching that fish and hitting that dock a couple times with his K9, but had an awesome time with Jeff here. I have another video coming out from the Swimbait Universe gathering tournament where we fished and had a pretty awesome day. I think we caught like 6 or 7 fish all on glides and ended up catching a pretty big one too. Make sure you check Jeff's channel out. It's Crazy Bass Fisher. I'll leave it linked down in the description below. He is extremely informative. He makes awesome content and he's an awesome dude. I've known him for probably 5 years now. Been out to Arizona twice and fished with him both times. And he's put me on some fish, so I felt pretty happy that I was able to at least put him on a couple Virginia bass. But hope you guys learned something from this video. I truly learned an enormous amount just watching him fish. I felt like half the day I was just watching him cast and seeing how he was retrieving the bait. I was constantly asking him questions as to why he was doing some of the things he was doing. He knows his stuff for sure. He thinks about bass fishing unlike anyone that I know, because he's truly out there chasing the one bite, not just going out to catch some fish. Like, he's after one fish, the biggest fish in the lake. It's sick. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button for me. And again, please go check out Jeff's channel. He has some awesome content and he catches some donkeys. See you guys on the next one.